Welcome everyone. My name is Soumya. I'm from Techcanvass and I'll be your host for this session. Okay, so let me introduce you to Techcanvass first. Techcanvass is an IT certification training organization for professionals, wherein we help students to crack their certification exams in their first attempt. Being an authorized training center for IIBA Canada and ISQI Germany, we conduct all the IIBA certification courses like ECBA, CCBA, CBAP, and we also train people for Agile Analysis certification. We are also authorized training partner of Project Management Institute for PMP certification. And we also have domain courses into banking, finance, healthcare, and many others. So today we will be discussing on, as you can see, the topic traditional business analysis versus agile business analysis. And we have our speaker, Mr. Dinap Bansal. So I'll just give his introduction. Mr. Dinap is a certified product owner and business analyst with over 13 plus years of experience working for a leading software solution and service provider. Currently, he is based out at Singapore and working in the financial service industry. From here, I would request Zinab to take the session ahead. And thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful session now.
Thank you, Soumya. Good evening, everyone. Today we'll be, as Soumya discussed, today we'll be talking about the differences between traditional business analyst and the agile business analysis. What is the difference in the approach and how things are basically changing in the today's evolving landscape. Okay, we'll move on. So the goal of today's session is to, once this session commences, you should have a clear understanding on what a traditional business analyst is still doing and how an agile business analyst is basically making the difference, how it is, how it can help you in understanding what are the key differences between the both, and there are some traditional methodologies which are still being implemented, how an organization structure actually helps in determining those. Okay, so we'll move on. Okay, as Soumya mentioned, this is something high level about Techcanvass, about the business analysis certification courses and everything they are doing. Okay, and this is the agenda of today's discussion. What is the differences in the documentation of the requirements, key difference in focus areas and the thought process, the sign off versus business needs value add, longer turnaround versus quick turnaround, cost of delivery versus value driven delivery, and then we'll have a question and answer session. So the goal of today's discussion is to be, as I mentioned, I'll try to make it as interactive as I can. As Soumya mentioned, you can post the questions in the chat bot, or you can actually go ahead and as and when you want to ask a question, you can ask the question. And we have a dedicated question and answer round at the end as well. Okay. So first things first. So a very key aspect of a business analyst profile is documentation. There are many differences between waterfall methodology and agile methodology, as I've already mentioned in the slide. So waterfall methodology, the focus always remains on the business requirements document, which is a very high level document. There are generally, it only talks about the problem statements. It doesn't talk about how the solution is going to be defined or what all key areas it needs to be covered. But then it is not a scoping document. It is just a high level business requirements document, which just tells you the problem statement that this is what I want to automate. This is the process which is there. Then drilling down into the functional specifications document is where all the which is a major milestone in a waterfall methodology. So all the sign off, and it's tied to the payment milestone as well. So this is a very huge document wherein all the artifacts which are mentioned below, the UI, wireframes, business rules, use cases, flow diagrams, everything is covered inside the functional specifications document. So as some of you must already be knowing, even the non-functional specifications are also inside the FSD document, which is a very, very important artifact. And anything, so things which are in scope and out of scope in the project are also defined in this document as well. So this is like a Bible for the project. If we talk about the agile methodology, so the requirements, there is no particular document. It's mostly it is documented in a tool or a storyboard, which in some cases I have, in my experience, I have seen that there are tools, but then there are some people who are actually doing it, putting out sticky notes on a whiteboard as well. That also does the trick. It's a quite good approach. But yes, having said that, generally a feature is written which is again a very very high level. It's broken down into epics are further broken down into user stories or backlogs, and then the backlogs are taken into different sprints. Again, having said that, the waterfall methodology, mostly unless and until a particular organization is certified by ISO, or there is a body which is controlling, there's a department which is controlling the documentation standards and everything, then yes, you will have defined templates to actually write down the functional specifications document. But yes, I have, in my experience, I have worked for some clients where there was no specifications document, and whatever you were comfortable finding the template from the internet, you can actually use that. So I have done that as well. And then on the other hand, agile methodology is very, very simple. The requirements can be written collaboratively by the team. If the Scrum Master or the development team, they want something additional to be added in the backlog, then it's always acceptable change. Okay. So anybody has any questions regarding the documentation, or we'll move on?
Hi, I have a quick question.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to take it in the further slides, but just that query that pops up in my mind is like use cases in agile methodology. Uh, what are they and how are they written? Is there a specific format for writing them?
There is no specific. It's standard format across both the waterfall methodology and agile methodology. So you define an actor and you define the actions which are taken by that particular actor. So what generally happens for generally the complex backlogs are broken down into different user stories, but in a complex scenario when there are too many different actors which are interacting with the system, then it is always better to add a particular use case into a user story as well. So you can just
So,
mention that the actor and this is the interaction which is happening as part of the user story.
okay. You're talking about the use case diagrams that include the actors and the.
Yes. Okay. Any other question? Okay, we'll move on. So the next thing we'll cover about is the difference in the focus areas. See, in the waterfall methodology, the business analyst is the liaison between the development team and the business users. He is responsible for converting all the documents into the technical lingo for the development team to understand, and how it can be basically included in the development cycle. But then again, the focus of the BA remains on the completeness of the requirement as well as the documentation. So all the small details which are there, for example, as low level detail as field level mapping, what are the data types and the character length as well. So these are something which I have also personally done when doing waterfall methodology projects. But yes, it becomes a very time consuming task. But having said that, the focus always remains on the completeness of the requirement. So anything which might come after 2 months or three months down the line, which is not documented as part of the FSD document, will not be part of the scope. Whereas in agile methodology, what I have learned from experience is your focus will always remain in understanding what is the problem statement, how you can add value to the product or to the solution, and how you can basically understand that what is the market demand, how things are moving in terms of the how things are moving in terms of that particular industry or that particular field, and then you try and understand, okay, this is what the business wants. So your focus is not on the completeness of the requirement, but you're focusing more towards the understanding of the requirement, so that, and eventually as time goes on, you kind of become the domain expert as well, in because you've done your analysis and you've done the study as well on whatever requirements are coming along the way as part of the project. So this is the key difference in focus areas of a traditional business analyst as well as a agile business analyst. Okay, we'll move on. So anybody has any question on the focus areas? Okay. Then we talk about the difference in the thinking of traditional BA and the difference in the thinking of the agile BA. So your in a traditional BA will always be a member of the development team. He will always be representing the development team in front of the business users. If so, there are some projects which I have done where I have been responsible for the timelines as well as the things which are out of scope, which cannot be included. And more or less, the focus is always getting on the sign off after a particular milestone is delivered. So the changes in the requirements are controlled under a baseline. Whatever is documented in the FSD is always the one which can be done, and whatever is not documented in the FSD is out of scope, and there has to be a change request. So there has to be a change request which needs to be raised, and it goes through the change management process. There are some things, yes, which can be included or must be included as well, which are very small things like label changes, or which do not take that much of a time. But having said that, the request should be valid from the business user as well. In terms of agile BA, the agile BA is always the voice of the customer. He understands what the customer actually wants. There are some situations where there have been some regulation changes where you actually tend to understand, okay, this is a governance thing and this needs to go out to the market in maybe the next 1 month or so. So you drop everything and you start focusing on the regulation changes, because that needs to go out as soon as possible. So your focus is basically ensuring the requirements that meet the current business needs, and you try and ensure get as much feedback from the product manager or the development team, that okay, this can be done, and these are things which can be dropped as part of the current sprint, and these are some of the backlogs which can be included. So it's like more or less kind of a give and take situation. But yes, change is always welcome in agile methodology. So that's how it works. It's not something which is cast in stone, especially in terms of waterfall methodology. There is too much of documentation and sign off which is required. So it's not easier to adapt to change in for a traditional BA. Okay, so we move on. Sorry about that. In terms of timelines and flexibility, waterfall methodology, as everyone is aware, has a definitely longer turnaround, because the release cycles are planned accordingly. There is a testing cycle, there is a SIT phase, then there is a UAT phase, and then once the UAT is approved, so there are different milestones and sign-offs then you decide and deliver the product to the production environment, or you make it live for the customer. So there is definitely even for a shorter project which is maybe about 4 to 6 months of duration. Generally, it tends to go up to 8 to 10 months because of the longer turnarounds and depending on how many bugs are actually found in the SAT phase. The cost of delivery is another thing which is very there is a lot of focus on the cost of delivery because everything is calculated in terms of man hours and man days. Whereas in agile methodology, the concept of man hours and man days is not that much. Everything is based on the complexity of the backlog, and based on the complexity and the velocity of the team you calculate how many backlogs you can deliver. So generally, what I've seen in the industry, mostly companies follow a 2 to 3 weeks sprint cycle. 2 weeks is the general norm, with a 5 to 7 team members of the team. And so, if there is a 2 week sprint cycle, so after every 2 weeks, you are releasing the product and making it live. The focus, as I said, is always on the value which you are providing to the customer. There is constant feedback because the turnaround is very quicker. So the customer, if he's raised any feedback, he can expect to have a quicker turnaround in terms of the delivery as well as the value as well. So think of it from an example, for like you are using any mobile application these days. Maybe you are using the Facebook application, or you are using any ride-hailing app like Uber or Ola or anything, right? So if you're using a Uber app and you find that okay, this feature is not working as I expected. Maybe you're trying to put in a message to the cab driver that okay, I'm standing here but he's not able to receive the message, or he decides not to. So you're unable to know that you're unable to know the correct location of your taxi, and you're still waiting. So think of it like you give the feedback, and in after 2 weeks you can see that okay, this has been fixed. You get an update and it's out there already. So the bug has been fixed already. Whereas these things cannot happen in a waterfall methodology. It has to go in a phase-wise approach. So any questions on timelines and flexibility? Okay. So then we talk about the difference in the mindset. What is the agile BA mindset, and how does a traditional BA think? So the traditional BA is focused on a lot of documentation and analysis. He will try and manage the change. There is a lot of time and effort which goes into managing the change as well, because as I mentioned earlier, the functional specifications document is the Bible of the project. So whatever is documented is in scope, and whatever is not documented will be out of scope. So there are a lot of instances where the customer, after 2 months or after 3 months into the project, he will come and think of a new requirement or a new feature to be added to the product, which cannot be done. So generally, once your design, there is a lot of thinking which goes, a lot of time and effort goes into how your product will look like, how the is going to work, how the user will actually interact, what kind of user roles are actually there, is there any approval flow, what is the workflow going to be. So there are a lot of thought process which goes upfront in the project, because you have to define everything and it needs to be documented. For agile BA, everything falls into your plate, but it is a team effort which goes in. So you know that okay, you can always go and talk to your product manager. He can explain that okay, this is what we're looking, and this is the problem statement, and this is the kind of value and which is going to be delivered. So the focus is there on the customer value, and then the agile business analyst is always open to change. So he knows that okay, my sprint is set, but yes, if there is a change which my product manager or the business needs, and if the value is justified and the customer wants it, so we can definitely try and accommodate that particular change in the sprint. But there's a very fluid conversation flow which always happens. So you have a lot of Scrum ceremonies having in, so the daily stand-up call is something which is happening on a daily basis. Then you have separate different calls with your business users as well, where you do a demo, you do a retrospective. We'll talk about that in later. But the focus is definitely on the flexibility, and it's a team effort. So if a sprint goes well, the onus is not on only the BA, but then it is always on the team. Whereas if you get a sign off on time, then it's more or less the BA or the project manager which takes the credit. The development team will never take the credit for getting a sign off or getting the documentation done on time, because their role in all of that is very, very limited. Okay, we'll move on. So now we have a case study wherein we will talk about a mobile banking app which was developed last year for one of the banking clients over here. This mobile app basically enables customers to open accounts online via mobile app. So this is integrating with with the local identification body. So you have the data, which is so there is a validation which is happening at the front end, and all the data, all the basic information data is being pre-filled by that, and then the data actually flows through a particular data repository. There are workflows, and then we are asking the customer to actually upload their identification documents, their photograph, and everything. It goes to a third party body for verification and everything. So within 2 to 3 days of time, your account gets open. So this is something which I have worked upon, I think maybe last year. Okay. So we talk about the success factors of that particular project. The product owner was always spreading the vision that, okay, this is the problem area. We have a 2 weeks turnaround time. Currently, we need to reduce the turnaround time so that more clients are open. And the bank was fairly late in the game. There were a couple of other banks which were already doing that. Uh, so spreading the vision, everybody understood that, okay, this is the vision where the organization wants to go, and this is the goal which we are trying to actually achieve once the project is live. So I think that was a very one of the key areas where everybody was very driven about the project, because everybody understood that, okay, this is what we are trying to achieve. This is not something. So there are projects which are where I worked upon where I did not actually know where this particular module is going to fit in, and how this is going to actually benefit the end user. So if you know that, okay, this is the vision, then actually it gives you a boost and you understand, okay, this is what we're trying to achieve. Then the second success factor was that the focus was protected ourselves from the big organization disease. So whatever information was cascaded down, we were very much focused, and we were not focusing on other things which are going on in the organization. So I think that again the onus goes to the product manager, he where he ensured that all the right information is coming down to the team members, and all the negative information which the team really doesn't require for the project is not typing down. Another important success factor was the trust and real teamwork which was there. There was a lot of strong sense of collectivity. Any problem which was there, any impediment which was there, so the whole team was willing to help each other and solve the problem. Continuous improvement was another very big thing which I think contributed to the success of the project. So anything which is new or challenging where the team members were finding, so people were helping out each other, and then there were a lot of technical things which I was not earlier aware, but due to that particular project and the help which I got from the development team, I ended up helping them out in solving those particular tasks. So a lot of learning curve as well. So now we talk about what could have been better, what did not go so well. So there were a lot of technical shortcomings which I think the sales people actually agreed upon earlier when they were selling the project. So the product which we were rendering was not that much flexible in doing a lot of things which so they were technological challenges which there were some things which the product was not made to do, but then again there was no workaround to it, and the client was hell bent that okay, this is something which you need to be delivered. So I think if the communication was better, then we could have saved a lot of time. There were a lot of banking regulations which we were not aware of. We thought, okay, that this could have worked, but then again, as we later on, we thought, okay, this is how it is going to work. Because initially, when we started the project was only planned for one particular country. Then later on, the senior management team agreed, okay, this is what we are going to roll out for two more countries as well. So to scale that kind of project, because every country has different banking regulations, so I think that was again one area which we could have sorted out better. Lastly, I think the scalability issues, if we were better informed that, okay, this is going to be rolled out to three different regions, we could have managed things better. But yes, there could have been increased focus on testing because a lot of people kept coming and going. So the learning curve for the new team members was a lot. Since it was a banking application, not everybody was accustomed to how things are working, where is the integration happening. So it was integrating with five different systems. So I think that is something which could have improved as well. Okay. So anybody has any questions till now?
Yeah, you can unmute yourself or you can post the questions on the chat bot.
I think missed to understand like the issues that you were describing of the project, the scalability issues and the other technical shortcomings. So that was an example for the waterfall model.
This was an example of the project was a hybrid agile model. There was one team which was working in waterfall model, and there was another team which was following the agile model. Because as I told you that this was the project was integration of five different host systems, wherein the front end mobile application was talking to five different host systems, and then it goes to different channels as well. So there was another team which was responsible for the designing the UI UX, which were doing as part of Agile. But yes, having said that, this was part of the what we were following was the Agile hybrid model.
So there can be a mix of two agile methodologies which we can use in a project for a single
Yes,
project as well.
yes, yes. It depends on the scale of the project actually. So if there are different development teams which are working on a single project, then every development team has a right to choose their methodology. If they are comfortable working in agile and if they can deliver the result, then this is something which they can do. But for a large development team, maybe 20-25 odd people, it is difficult to split those teams into smaller agile teams and control all the change and the scope as well. But having said that, that depends from organization to organization and how much understanding of agile your team has. So a lot of different factors actually go into deciding that. And I think
Scrum and
yes, please go ahead.
I was just asking, so Scrum and Kanban can also be used if there are multiple projects or multiple modules under a large project, right?
Correct. Yes, you can do that. But then again, having said that, I would definitely say that the client has a very big say in deciding the methodology as well. So There are some organizations which are still following the old legacy waterfall model because that is something which works for them, and they are comfortable in giving sign-offs, and because the payment sign-offs are attached to your milestones are attached to your payment release cycles as well. So there is something which they have been doing on from the past 20 odd years or maybe more than that. So they are still comfortable. So if your client says that, okay, sorry, we cannot do agile, then I think you have to be flexible enough to actually work both ways. So this is something which the sales team or the senior management team can discuss and iron out with the client actually. But then again, it boils down to how you want to run the show.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Any other
I have a question.
I
Yes,
have a question. Sorry.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay.
I will go later.
Okay, thank you. So the question that I have got to the speaker is about the fact that you just said that there can be a hybrid model adopted, right? But how does that affect the efficacy of the delivery of the project, right? So if there are multiple teams and one team is working on Agile and the other one is, for example, working on Waterfall, then do you think there is better delivery in that way, or is it more idealistic to say that all the teams should be working on Agile methodology to deliver a better outcome?
See, the ideal way is that everybody is working on agile methodology, so that, but then again, having said that, that is the ideal way. But sometimes what happens because of the legacy architecture, and as I mentioned, if your client is not comfortable in working in agile, there are some teams which are more adept in terms of understanding how agile is there. So for example, if I am doing a project which is agile hybrid, my team is working on the waterfall model, and there is another team in which is working on agile methodology. I would not be interested in looking at their user stories. I would be only interested that, okay, when are you delivering me my module, because I need XYZ functionality for ABC to work. You understand where I'm coming from?
But yeah, I understand. But there is a dependency that you have, right? For example, if you're working with an upstream system, right, which impacts your delivery, right? Then in that case, unless and until they are delivering a particular feature or a functionality, you can't go ahead and do your development, right? So there is a dependency factor. In that way, how do you approach it? Because they are working, for example, in traditional methodology, and you're doing agile. Then there is
So
a
that
definite impact, right?
there is a definite impact. Yes, I agree. But as I mentioned, this is something which the senior management and all those people will actually decide. It doesn't. So it a BA or even a project manager cannot actually decide that, okay, this is how I'm going to run the project if your client does not agree. So this is something which you have to just adapt and include. But yes, I have seen that if your organization is understanding wise is mature enough to understand how agile works, and the team members are they have that kind of knowledge and understanding, yes, having a pure agile methodology for running even a complex project works very well. There have been instances in my previous project where I was working for an agile hybrid model, where my team was working on waterfall model, and they were a couple of days when the other team is doing sprint planning or they're doing retrospective. So one whole day they will not reply to emails because they're busy in planning for the next sprint. So you just have to live with it. No other choice.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for answering the question.
Okay. Any other question, please?
Yes, continue with your test case to the project that you did for the bank. How it was in Agile? Because my question is more in the what you deliver first, and then when it's going to be the next sprint, because my understanding for the bank, for example, you have to deliver the functional application, yes, plus all the 5 interfaces that you deliver with the other systems. So you have to deliver at least this. So this has to be like waterfall. And after, in my opinion, this is what I'm thinking. Then after in Agile, you can do the other 2 countries. But let's say if the project is, you run the project in Agile, the full project on Agile, or you run the project in both. Sorry, I missed the first part.
So what I was saying earlier, that the designing of the UI UX screens and the integration of just with the initial authentication mechanism and the front end channel, that is something which was done in Agile. The rest of the project was being run in Waterfall.
It was not really delivered to the final users. That was my question. That what we delivered the first, let's say, rollout, what we delivered. It is not on Agile, really, right?
It's Agile hybrid model because it is
It's,
a combination. It is a combination of Agile plus Waterfall.
I mean,
So
yes,
there
you
are
deliver like the first scripts and the sign on and that in order for the to finish
So
this
you think
part.
of it, yeah, you think of it from like for example, you are building a car. Okay, so if you are building a car, there are a lot of many parts which are coming from different vendors. So, for example, a car will contain a chassis. It will contain a windscreen. There is somebody who is going to provide you with the tires. Somebody is going to provide you with the seats. So you try and think from a standpoint that everything is being provided. All the major parts are being provided by different vendors. How the vendors are coming together. So you just have a timeline. You have to adhere to it, and then once all the parts are collected in a particular workshop or a factory, they are assembled all together one by one. So if I maybe put in the seats first in a car, I would not be able to put the carpet or the flooring mat, right? I need to put the flooring mat first. So if my flooring mat is missing, I will not be able to put the seating. So this is something which goes in a step-by-step manner.
Okay, so I understand. So finally, you cannot drive the car until everything is already done. Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
correct,
I got it.
correct,
I got
correct.
it. I got it.
Yeah.
Thank.
Okay. Any other question?
Uh, I have one, Dina. It's Kaushik here. Uh, so when we talk about this hybrid agile model, so you said that it is decided by the senior level staff, maybe the high level sales team and the higher up in the management, people who are higher up in the management. So
Yeah.
is this hybrid model ideally suited for a type of project where it is we decide to go in a waterfall method because the scope and the scale of the project is huge, and in between, while we are in the development phase or sometime in between where we cannot go back that much, at that time when the customer comes with a change request or something, is that when we decide, okay, these modules are complete and the customer wants certain additional features to this, so we will bring in an agile team to work on this for a particular period of time
Yeah.
and deliver those features, or
So,
how does it
so your methodology is decided on at the time when your contract is being signed, actually, because the customer, if you're working, for example, for a bank, your bank is very much aware that which particular methodology will work in their organization. For example, agile methodology, the product manager or the business user plays a very key role in defining the requirements and everything. So they have to attend all the daily stand-up meetings. They have to be available for each and everything, right? So when we talk about an organization such as a bank or any other financial organization, uh, getting the business users to actually attend stand-up meetings every single day is a very big challenge, because they have other stuff to do as well. They have their routine jobs, and this is just additional additional work which has been assigned to them. So think of it like you're doing a regular job, maybe as a branch manager or anything, and you have one fine day you decide, okay, this is some automation process which is going to come, and I need to dedicate additional 2 hours to it every single day. So nobody is happy. But then, because people don't understand that what is the value which is going to be brought by it, what is the ROI, but this is something So this is the general perception I have seen in most of the business users.
Understood. So
So the method,
basically, like,
to answer your question, generally the methodology is decided at the start of the project. Depending on the methodology, even when a change comes in, so the change will be decided whether to be incorporated or not to be incorporated based on the methodology which is there. Obviously, even in Agile, if you have a dedicated team which is already there, your change will be there on certain documentation or on the user stories which are already documented. For example, if I've rolled out in one particular region and then my customer comes and says, okay, you roll out to second region as well. So I have a timeline where I need to plan my resources and everything, right? Then I will definitely go through the change management process or maybe talk about another project on the cards. I will not just go blindly ahead, and unless and until it is a small functionality or there's something which is maybe a 2 3 weeks or maybe two sprints worth of work, everything goes hand in hand.
understood. Because I had, when you talked about hybrid, I had the idea it was more like a tactical shift, but now I understand it's a very strategic decision to be made. Yeah, thanks.
No worries. Any other question? Okay, so we'll talk about why agile and business analysis in my next slide. Okay, so this is a typical agile life cycle. It starts with the product visioning. As I gave an example of a mobile application, so somebody thought that okay, we can try this particular idea where everybody has a smartphone. We can talk about building a mobile application wherein people can go and maybe register on the application, and then it would help to automate the process which is already there. So a product was vision, a roadmap was planned. Okay, what are the different functionalities which are going to be part of the product? How do we market this particular product? What is going to be the launch date? What is going to be the marketing material which is required? How many people? What all regions? So all this is part of the product visioning and the roadmap planning. Then we go to the release planning. Then so as part of the release planning, you will plan, okay, what all releases would I want? There are there are some organizations which I've seen which have a 4 weeks or even a 5 week sprint, so that the team has the kind of bandwidth to actually work and then release towards the end. Iteration planning is done. How many repetitions you want, and then you develop, test, do a retrospective, and deploy. So that is a typical agile life cycle. We talk a little bit about how Scrum actually works. As we mentioned earlier, it starts about from a feature. Feature is broken down into an epic. Epic is further broken down into a product backlog, which is there, which is basically defined by the product owner or the business analyst. There is a team meeting which is called sprint planning, where you define that okay, from maybe a large bucket of backlogs, what all backlogs you want to pick up for that particular sprint. The product owner generally has a say in terms of defining the priorities for the backlogs, but yes, it is finally it is the team's decision collectively that okay, this is something which they want to deliver or this is something which they can deliver. The scrum master is responsible for overseeing what all backlogs are there, uh, and what is the complexity and what is the velocity of the sprint. The team will basically they will design, they will develop the product, and there will generally a tester will be there as part of the team. So they will test everything. Once it is done, it will be released. There will be a sprint review which is done towards the end of the sprint, and then on the last day of the sprint there will be a retrospective where in the entire team along with the product owner they will discuss what went well, what went wrong, and things which can be improved. So there are three major teams on which the meeting generally happens on the last day of the sprint. Next day you start as day one of the next sprint as well. So this is a typical Scrum life cycle, the Scrum process. So these are the definitions of business analysis as per IIBA. So as you can see, I'll just read them out. Business analysis is a set of tasks and techniques used to work as a liaison among stakeholders in order to understand the structure, policies, and operations of an organization, and to recommend solutions that enable the organization to achieve its goal. Okay, this is what is the IIBA definition of Agile Business Analysis? Agile Business Analysis is about increasing the delivery of business value to the stakeholders of the project or product being developed. So, as I mentioned earlier, the focus is always on the value, how we can deliver the value instead of how we can deliver the particular project or product. So we talk about the key skills which are required by a business analyst in general. Analytical thinking and problem solving, which I think is self-explanatory, how you can focus on the problem and focus on the solution of the problem. There are some behavioral characteristics which have also noticed are required. The personal organization, how you are, how much trustworthy you are, how much easy to approach you are, and how quick you are in building a rapport with your business users. What kind of business knowledge you have or you are willing to gain as well. So there are some business principles and practice. There is some industry knowledge which is involved, and how you have the knowledge of this organization as well as the solution. Communication skills, I think, is very important in terms of oral and written communication. How you can explain anything to a user. Storytelling is something which is again very important in terms of explaining things to your users. Facilitation and negotiation, it becomes very important when you're trying for a sign off. When the client is not willing to sign off because he's not satisfied with the product or there is some delay at your end, so you need to know how to negotiate, and how to motivate your team members in actually delivering the product is something which is again required. Software application is something which is general. You need to know another skill which I think is very important, which is not mentioned here. I think Excel also plays a very important role in understanding, because there is a lot of data manipulation which needs to be done. So if you know Excel well as PowerPoint well, I think that also plays a very important role in being a good business analyst. We talk about business analyst in Agile. So there are two frameworks: the discovery framework, when you focus on seeing the whole picture. Uh, think as a customer, what is the problem which the customer has, what is the kind of product he wants to deliver, what is the thing the customer is actually trying to achieve, and you focus on the value which the customer is trying to deliver. Then there is the delivery framework, how you can get delivered. So you can use examples, you understand what is doable, you try and stimulate collaboration and continuous improvement, and then you also try to avoid waste in terms of you are not building something which cannot be used, or which the customer is not having using. Because if you're delivering something new and the users are already using something which from the past 5 years or 7 years, so nobody likes change actually in any organization. So you have to be willing to understand, okay, this what the users want and how you can help them in understanding that, okay, this is something which will help you in the long run. Okay, so this is the last slide. So we can take some questions now. I think we have about 10 minutes left.
Hi Binav, this is Vijay. So right now I'm working as an Agile BA. Basically, I'm a rookie BA, so I just have 1 year of experience. So right now I'm working in a 9-year-old software company in Bangalore. And down the lane, I would look forward to moving to a very well established MNC like a Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, let's say IBM, companies like that, or very rapidly growing startups like Razorpay or Dunzo, Cult, etc. So my assumption is that Agile and Scrum is the most prevalent framework and methodology adopted, whether it be in business analyst or business analysis or in the way the projects are implemented in these companies. So my question is, for a person like me, should I even spend time equipping myself with the skills required to work in a waterfall methodology? And how do you see waterfall methodology evolve in the near future in the modern context? Is it going to go obsolete?
Uh, that's a very tricky question, actually. I don't think waterfall methodology will ever go obsolete, to be honest. There will be organizations who will be using waterfall methodology even after 20 years. But yes, it depends. It varies from organization to organization and how willing they are to change. So, in whenever a large organization has a very traditional mindset, they are not willing to change. This is something which I mentioned earlier. So they will not be ready to adopt agile because they know the culture which the organization has, or even if you bring in an agile coach to deliver, agile projects will not run smoothly. But having said that, yes, definitely. If you look at the adoption of agile in the US or in Canada or even in Australia, the adoption of agile the number is really huge. So there are about 56 to about 60% projects which are actually running in agile. So that's a good number, and I think that is definitely the future which is there in terms of agile, unless and until there is a new methodology which comes up. But yes, having said that, if you're targeting for different companies or big organizations, yes, you need to be comfortable in both the methodologies. So if you're comfortable with agile, so it's the other way around. If you're comfortable with the waterfall model, you can definitely be an agile BA. Even if you're an agile BA as of now, there is no special skill which is required to understand or be a traditional BA as well. So there will be jobs which will remain in the waterfall model. The companies will still run the project. They will not change. But yes, agile is the new way of doing things.
Thanks, Sinab. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Dinap, thanks for the wonderful session. I have a question that my current job profile is a software developer, but I also have to do a lot of analysis based on code, not on the functionalities. But I'm also looking for future into business analysis. So can you maybe guide me on, or maybe are any certifications are gonna help, or just if I follow the Techcanvass's trainings, is that enough?
So you are currently, if I heard you correctly, because your voice is a bit low, you are currently a software developer and you are interested in becoming a BA.
Yeah.
How many years of experience do you have?
7 years of experience.
So if you have 7 years of experience as a software developer, why do you want to become a BA?
Because I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, because I don't want to do development for my whole life. And yeah, the technologies keep on changing and I'm just tired to learn something new.
I
And
think this
I'm
is,
also
no, I understand. This is a very common
Mhm.
question. And I think this is a very big myth that a BA's job or life is much easier than a software developer.
No, I'm not saying that BA's life is easier. It's just that I don't want to sit and code anymore. I think that I have good communication skills, so I want to improve myself and get more skills developed and become a BA. I'm not saying that BA's job is easier than
No,
other
no, I am
jobs.
just talking about a general perception which I have seen from in many people that a BA is when you try and get a sign off from a client who is mad at you for something which was not your mistake and the project is delayed by a month. Definitely a BA's role is not easy.
I
Okay.
see that also in my
Yeah.
development also.
Yeah, and it's a very tough position to be. You generally don't want to negotiate because you don't have the authority to actually let go of some dollar amount. But yes, you don't have the authority to actually agree to a particular $0 CR as well. So it's a tough situation to be in. But having said that, uh, I would, if you are interested in generally becoming, so I would not, I don't know, like if you want to become a BA, yes, you need to definitely work on your skills. You start with the ECBA certification. I think you have decent experience. You start with getting certified. You try and see how you can enter into a BA role. If you can move internally, I think that's a good way to start actually. If there is an internal job movement. But eventually, if you have 7 years of experience, I think if you just hang in, then you can grow into a more project manager or a PMO kind of a role, which I think is a very good role. So PMO, I see is definitely even the project management is a very key role which is there. And if you have the technical knowledge, since you are a software developer, I think that's really a added advantage because people cannot take you for ride. So people, in your head that whatever estimates are being given to your by the development team, what kind of work can be done in a day and what kind of work takes a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I would not say because even if you 7 years of software development experience, that okay, you are there. But if you want to transition into a BA, you will have to start from maybe not zero, but maybe one. So why to waste
Yeah.
your 7 years of yeah. But yes, having said that, you start reading up a bit. You see ECBA is, I think, a good way
Yeah,
you can
I'm
get.
already registered with the Techcanvass's ECBA
Yeah,
training.
that. I think that's a good beginner's course. So you can do that.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for the advice.
I think Dinap, Rahika here. So you have actually given a very good point to the person who asked the question, right? That BA job is not easy. I've been a BA for almost 3 years now, and it's
Hmm.
quite tough to negotiate with users, especially when, as you said, right, when you have not really made the mistake, or there are
Correct.
other team members involved, there is a delay, but you can't just go on the face and say it's not my mistake. You have to kind of take the hit on behalf of the team, right? So it
Yeah.
requires quite a lot of composure, quite a lot of negotiation skills, and the temperament to just go ahead, right? So it
Correct.
is not everybody's cup of tea, and I think if a person has a good technical skill, I think it's better to continue there. That's my opinion, right? Because there are
Hmm.
roles where you can use your technicality and move up. You see, so yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. There are a lot of misconceptions about, and I think how the industry has actually evolved over the past maybe 5 to 7 years. Business analyst profile has actually become very generic. So earlier, the organizations used actually the business analyst was a very key person to the project. So there are not. So if you talk about the small organizations which are there, especially in India, so lot of companies don't understand the value a BA actually brings. So they would actually end up they would be maybe the team lead or somebody of that particular stature would end up doing the documentation, and they will try to run the project like that. So in terms of the job market also, I am not sure who asked the previous question, but in terms of the job market also, I think if you are in a functional role, they are lesser jobs which are out there. And if you are in a technical role, they are definitely better paying jobs and much more jobs out there as well. I think that's my personal analysis, which is there, especially after COVID. So that's how it is. So just think carefully what you want to do, even if you even if you don't like to code.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, I think we were about okay. I'll take another couple of questions. The time is up.
Then I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is similar to the previous one. I hold 8.4 years of experience as a QA, and I'm aspiring to be a BA and I started giving interviews and all those such. Um, um, like how healthy is that? Because I was in the gray area, like where I have to continue as a QA because most of the interviews I end up is that there are some companies which encourage, okay, you are a QA, you have a background of QA and also BA, okay, fine. And there are companies they say a strict no, I don't want a QA, I just wanted a BA. So that's when I think like the decision is healthy, or how about QA being taking the transition, getting into a BA role?
So, as I said, similar. Why to waste your experience? If you have been a QA from the past 8 years or so, as you mentioned, I think that's a really good experience. You can start learning. But then again, having said that, your experience, which is there as a QA, you cannot take it off your resume, right? Because you don't want to do an entry level job. So there are, if you're lucky enough, if you join an organization which allows you to move laterally as a BA, then I think nothing like that. But if you try and get a role for a BA, being a QA from the past 8 years or so, then people actually don't people are not that flexible in understanding that okay, this is something which you want to do or which you want to try. People will say that maybe you are confused or you're not sure what you want to do with your career. You're not serious. Maybe after you decide going back to QA, then what? So I still feel the people there are a lot of people who don't understand that okay, why is it that people want to become a BA, or this is something which they are passionate about. I think that is where the majority of the understanding is lacking. But yes, you can definitely, I think that this is a good time to try. Maybe automation testing is really on the rise. If you can try courses in Selenium and stuff, so there are a lot of jobs out there in the market, and I think you are good in a good position to be a QA lead or even a QA manager. You have ample experience now. So if you start BA now after 8 years of experience, I think your not all of it, but some of your experience will be based in terms of compensation and stuff. So try and join, yeah, try and join organizations which understand what people want, which allow actually people to move laterally, which are open to people actually wanting to switch roles. So try and join organizations like that.
Okay. Because the reason why I wanted to switch is that now that complete QA profile is equivalent to development profile, the QA they want, their expectation built on QA is that they wanted to develop entire thing like equivalent to development. So that's
Hmm.
when this decision popped up. But although my decision is very concrete, because not just today, it's been like 3 or 4 years. I have this aspiration of becoming a BA, but only in this year, like I've taken few steps of doing it. So and I
Hmm.
started giving interviews also. Somewhere like a little doubtful too. That's when it's asked.
So if you are getting into an organization which can give you a QA plus BA kind of a role, then I think you can join initially, and then I think should be okay.
Okay.
Okay, one last question.
If
Can
there
I
is nobody
just
else, can I ask a question? Okay.
No, go, because
No, yours might be a new question, so I've asked a question already. So if you want to go, no problem.
do. But let's say I'm preparing for the business analysis exam. Yes. So I noticed I was preparing long time ago, and now I noticed that it's a different structure. What is the advice for preparing the exam? Because it's very difficult, very long. Yes, and a lot of memorizing. I don't want to, I am not very good in memorizing concepts. But
What you are preparing for? I didn't understand
for
actually.
this, for the business analysis professional.
No, that I understand. What you are trying to memorize? The concept.
For example, the task for each one of the areas. I don't, the techniques, which techniques are related with this area. I mean, for me, it's this is which the following techniques are related with that. So but they are very similar. So you have to really memorize that. Do you think I should spend time on that?
Can you give an example of a technique which you are trying to memorize?
No. For example, they tell you the user is trying to evaluate evaluate the risk. Okay, so which are the techniques that what is the correct answer in the next 3 questions? Yeah, so it says techniques. They display the 3 techniques, whatever, or they are very similar. So in that case, you have to know which are the techniques related with the risk, for example. Yes, so this is like more memorizing. I thought that the new structure was the idea. It was more like analyzing than memorizing, but it
So
continues
if you
being
don't want
more.
I understand that. If you don't want to memorize, or if you have a hard time in memorizing this, you can try and compare the techniques with real life examples which you're doing in as part of your daily routine. So maybe you are commuting to home office, or maybe you are working from home, and so you are making coffee every single day, right? So if you see that, okay, your method of preparing the coffee has a certain structure to it, right? You will boil your water in the kettle, you will add coffee. There are certain step by step approach. So if you try and match those techniques, I think it would be helpful for you to remember things. Try and start thinking your real life examples, which are or real life situations with respect to those particular techniques, and what fits where. I think that should help you a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, but still, if I follow what I will do, and it's not being very logical. So, okay. I mean, I know it has some definitions very clear. So, but that's when I find difficult that it's being just memorizing what exactly the task means.
So maybe you can search on Google different types of different examples or real life examples of different techniques. If you're not able to relate to your daily life, then you can search for some examples which are already out there on the internet. Maybe that would help you to understand.
No, the examples that you are giving in the course, are very good. I mean, yeah, that's what but when I try to answer that is when I say, oh my God, this is that. So the question is, how is in the exam in these days is supposed to be more on the exact concepts of the Babud area, right? Exact. So you have to know it. You have to know exactly the definition, because sometimes just a word it makes a lot of difference for the answer. This is what I'm trying.
I'm not sure how I can help you. If you're finding the examples good, then maybe you need to study more. That's all I can say. Try and research more on Google, and try and relate into your real life. Yeah.
Yeah, no. My question was that how is the exam these days in the new ones? How hard are more the memorizing or no for the exam?
So if your understanding is clear, then you don't need to memorize. Yes, there are certain bits of the exam where you need to memorize things and stuff. But if your concept is clear, then you don't need to memorize. You will be able to relate an answer. It's not very tricky.
No, it's not. No, maybe. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think we are 10 minutes over. So thank you all for taking the time out. And these are the you can sorry. So these are the touch points where you can get in touch with the team. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dinap.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day, everyone.
Thank you, Dinap. Yeah, the session was really insightful. So there were a lot of people who were asking for recording. It will be available on our YouTube channel. You can go and check out there. Also, if you have any inquiry regarding Techcanvass, I will post the details also on the chatbot, and you can just check those details. So yeah, it was a very good session, and I thank all of you for participating and joining. Now we'll stop here. I will just stop the recording.